Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's My Games recruitment show, where, as you can see, we're talking about something that I think affects so many recruitment business owners, which is time management. So we're going to talk about how you can get more stuff done in less time. Who doesn't want that? And today we are joined by a very special guest who we will introduce in a moment. But first, it's Mike. He's here. He's on his hollybobs. He's got that hoodie on. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, I am on my hollybobs, and because I didn't want to miss this one. Mrs. Ames was saying, "Oh, well, can't Kirsty do it on her own?" I said, "Well, she can, but I want to be involved in this one because it really connects with me." But first, before I explain why it's important, let me introduce our guests. So, Julia Doherty of Adventure Geek. She's the founder and chief protagonist of that company, and it's all about team building in various parts of the world, isn't it, Julia?
Yeah, I take people here, there, and everywhere, and I have the best job ever. Background is recruitment, just in case you're wondering the reasons why I'm here. So, yeah, thanks for having me today.
You are very welcome. I saw Julia speak at an event, and I was really blown away by some of the things that she said and how she said them. And I thought, well, I know time management is an issue for all of us, and particularly for me, because I went down to 4 days a week and then had to go back up to 5 again, and went down to 4 again, and now I'm on 3 because Mrs. Ames insisted. But I have to do the same amount of output as I did before, but I have to do it in 3 days, and I'm not going to work 15-hour days. It's not going to happen. So I'm very interested in getting more stuff done in less time. So hence getting Julia on the show to talk us through some great tips, which I know she's going to do. And we're just going to rap about stuff today. There's a few things that'll come out, no doubt, but I think that about sums it up.
Yeah, indeed. Now, we are very excited to have Julia here. Now, as we go through, if you have any questions for Julia or for Mike, or even for me, I'm very friendly. Feel free to pop them in the comments and I will bring them up. If not, we have a couple of really powerful points, I think, that Julia's going to go through and tell us how we can be more efficient and less stressed and just happier overall, really, which is what everybody wants. So let's start with the first one, Julia, which I think most people here will relate to, which is struggles with emails and inboxes.
That's right. I mean, I've got 5 tips here, or 5 strategies that we're going to be talking through, and they were originally in no particular order. But actually, I think this one is probably the most important one, which is getting control of your inbox. And we're talking about inbox zero. And I know we're obviously struggling with time. I haven't got too much time to go into loads of things, but one of the best tips that I can give you is to read a book called by a guy called David Allen. It's called GTD, which is Getting Things Done. And he talks about inboxes, not literally just your email inbox, but he also talks about other types of inboxes, and we have lots of different sorts of inboxes. So from phone calls that are coming in to task management systems, things are coming, personal stuff is coming into us all over the place. But for the sake of time, really today, I just wanted to talk about inbox zero with regards to your email. So my top tips, and I've got some little notes to the side of me, so sorry if I'm looking to the side.
While you're just looking at those, can I just drill down on this a little bit? Because sure, yeah. I think many recruiters, let's not tar everyone with the same brush, but I think many recruiters are driven by their inboxes. So whatever's in their inbox is pretty much what they do on that day, really.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's their to-do list.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, to-do list, and fair enough. That's fair enough, I suppose. But what it means is very often if you use your inbox as your to-do list, as you said earlier, there are other what we call interrupts, and that interrupt could be a text or a WhatsApp, or your CRM system says you've got to ring these people or whatever. So you've got these interrupts, these tasks that you've got to do coming from different places, but you're focusing very much on your inbox. And what often happens is you get an unbalanced diet of time. You spend too much time on certain things and not enough time on others. And we're going to talk about this, I know, a bit later because it's kind of a key thing. But the inbox is a big culprit, I think, of stress. And you're a champion of mental health, are you not?
I am indeed, 100%. Yeah.
The Shout organisation, a shout for the Shout organisation, right there. But it all comes back to a lot of the problems that we face are because we pin our day on our inbox. That's correct, isn't it?
I think that's what happens. And yeah, we also don't forget we get a dopamine hit. We have a good hit. You get that email from a client that you've been waiting for. You get an email from a candidate you've been waiting for to come back to you for God knows how long. And you keep hitting that refresh. But how much time does that? I love that phrase, unbalanced diet of time. I'm going to coin that one, Mike. I'll put it down to you. I am going to coin that. Brilliant.
It is
But
one of
that's
ours,
what
but you
it
can
is.
take it. It's all down to you. Yeah.
And we was talking earlier, sort of behind the backstage, as it were, about Cal Newport's book, and he was talking about how much distraction. It's good to have process time and focus time. That's something else I am going to come on to. But my top tips, anyway, for Inbox Zero is the first thing is you need to do is allocate some time to get rid of and deal with the emails that you've got there. Get to Inbox Zero and then have a process for dealing with emails that are coming in from then forward. So things like
Some people have like 1,000 emails in their inbox, aren't they, or something?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean that would freak me out now. Is like I
Who
can't
would do
even
that,
imagine.
guys?
But you have no chance of dealing with all those 1,000. So what you're basically saying here is, look, just put that into a separate directory, call it your old inbox, and gradually kind of work your way through it. But the new inbox, you're going to deal in a certain way. Is that what we're saying here?
I would actually do what we was talking about earlier and allocate some time in your diary to sort out your inbox. If you've got, so I know someone who had like 23,000 emails.
Oh my
It's
God.
like sort out half a day to get it done. Just
Half
get
a
it
day?
done. Yeah, or wherever, you know. But if you filter your emails alphabetically, then you'll group a lot of them together. And then you can just go, select loads and then delete them. The other thing that I think takes a lot of time and like time after time after time is emails that come in that you have subscribed to, but you never actually read stuff. Hit that unsubscribe button. Don't just delete because it's easier. Or, you get junk coming in, right click, send it to junk so that your system learns that is junk so it doesn't appear in your
Someone
inbox.
just said to me, just coming back actually, that said to me, this was ages ago, because I've had ups and downs with my inbox, right? But they said, if you haven't dealt with an email that's over a month old, right, you're never going to. So you don't need to delete it. You can archive it. You can stick it somewhere else. But you pick a time period, and in recruitment, it's probably 2, 3 weeks. If you haven't dealt with that, it's not that important, and you probably won't. So you don't need to delete it. Push it somewhere else. So it's not 23,000 at all, really. It realistically, it's a lot smaller than that.
Absolutely.
It's the last 3 or 4 weeks worth of emails, whatever you've retained. So it's not. I didn't want people thinking, "Oh my God, I'll never find that amount of time." You don't need to. Right? Just deal with the latest stuff. Yeah,
there's a really good. I'm into the geeky gadgety stuff. There's a really good plugin called Mail Butler, and you can use it for Gmail, Mac Mail, and Microsoft Outlook. And you can snooze emails, so it will go out of your inbox. It's like gone forever, and then it will come back into your inbox, say 3 days later or a week later. So you can deal with it then. So your brain isn't processing stuff every time you're in your inbox. So Mail Butler there's a free version, there's a paid version. So it's something, if you want to get control and serious about getting control of your inbox, then I'd definitely recommend that particular app. So.
Yeah, I really like that because there are 4 Ds, aren't there, with emails? You can do them, you can delegate them, you can delete them, or you can delay them.
Yeah.
And the delay is always the troublesome one, really. So, how do you delay? Well, with this app, you can delay them by just whacking them out for 3 days and they come back.
It's gone. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Mail Butler is a really, really good little app. And I think the golden rule with GTD, getting stuff done or getting things done, is if you touch it, you deal with it.
Yeah.
Once that's in your brain, it's like touched it, I've got to deal with it. You either got to delete it, you got to forward it, you got to action it, or you put it into another folder to action later.
There's something else here as well, actually. You touched upon it earlier, which I think is really interesting, is that because we're in a rush to get things done, to get stuff out, get it out my email, we often don't think about the bigger picture. And you referred to it in terms of unsubscribing from things that you don't want, or if it's junk, mark it as junk, it won't come back, really. But actually, there's another thing around delegation here, because if you delegate internally, that's one thing. Delegating out externally is outsourcing effectively. And I think if you're too low level and too quick to get rid of things, you don't see the bigger picture and think, actually, do you know what? I could probably batch all of those together and outsource them to a VA, or make someone else in my organization, if you've got people in your team, that they could do that. And then you can just have an automatic forward to the email, to, like I do with Melanie. Melanie gets an awful lot of my emails automatically. They just come to her because she deals with them, and I don't need to. But you know, and I think that's one of the benefits of having a VA, or in my case, obviously, she's an executive assistant. But I think there is that stopping and just thinking about what you're doing, isn't there?
Absolutely. And yeah, delegation, I think, is great. And I'm a big fan of outsourcing. It keeps your overheads down as well, and you know, keeps control of your business. And they're absolutely brilliant, you know, and they're very efficient as well. You know, how long have you had Mel for?
Oh, about 14, 15 years, I think.
Just a little while then.
Long time, yeah. How long has Mel had me? That's what people ask. Because we all work for Mel, don't we, Kirsty?
Oh, yeah, we do Mel's. We do it Mel's way.
Yeah. Absolutely. She sounds brilliant. We all need a Mel, I think.
Oh, yes.
We do, actually. We all do. You can't have
it. We are going to have to move on in a second. So, Julia, are there any other points that you'd like to make?
I'll shut up, let Julia get through the rest of her.
That's what I'm saying, Mike. I'm glad you translated it.
Okay, so just to recap, turn off email notifications, control your inbox. Otherwise, you're working on other people's priorities. That's the tip number 1. Okay, next one.
Oh, just before we move on, we have had a comment that I want to bring up just from Ben. Okay. So Ben says, interesting points on email management. He aims to only touch an email once. He either replies, copy content to a note, or send to a read later app. So Ben, Ben's 100% on that one. So
yeah, we like Ben.
We do like Ben.
Straight Ben. To top of the class.
The next one, I think, is sort of linked to email in the way that it's people calling on your time that you have no control over, and that would be social media.
Yes, so social media can be, if you allow it, a real time suck. Again, I would highly recommend outsourcing it if you can. Go to a good social media social media management company. But gain sure that you're turning off those notifications. We were showing our phones earlier, and you know, Kirsty's had me a bit freaky because there was like red dots all over the place. I don't know how many of those were social media.
Probably about 50%. I live in the chaos, and that's where I'm comfortable. So.
Whereas Mike's got one little one. Actually, it's all gone now, so he's done really well. Like, there you go, proof is in the pudding. But if you want a stress-free life, then turn off those little red dots, turn off those notifications on your phone, and don't get distracted. Spend some time doing.
Can I just pick up on this, on the social media thing as well? Because we do a lot of social media, and weirdly, people do outsource bits of social media to us, right? But I tell you what, I firmly believe you shouldn't outsource, and it's the one that burns the most time. Weirdly, it's the interactions. You can't outsource that, because it's got to be you. It's got to be your voice, your knowledge, your experience, your opinion of things. And I think people know if you've sent it to India or wherever, because the person speaking isn't you, really.
It's
so having
a voice, absolutely.
Having post written, fine. You know, you can use, you know, products or something. We'll talk about that a bit later. But do you know, I think that's what gets me. That's my biggest problem. Is that it is dopamine, isn't it? It's an addiction that we have. We see a little red dot. Oh, someone's commented on my post, or someone's liked it or something. And you think, oh, well, I'll have a look at that, really. Or someone just connected with me. That's nice, isn't it? Who's that then? Yeah. And I think that's the thing that draws me in, really, more than anything else. It's LinkedIn more than anything else. I don't really spend a lot of time these days on Twitter anymore, because it's a dreadful platform now. And Facebook, you know, I think I'm still too young for Facebook. Don't know, put that out there. Oh, that's a bit awkward, as it can be. It's not the awkward move. So, but the reason I wanted to bring this up is it's something that you have to do. But I think it's about partitioning. And Tom Giles has just put a comment up there I want to put up in just a second. But I think it's about partitioning your time into blocks, where in between the blocks of important time, to make sure you get a balanced diet of time, you can do what you like. So if you've got a gap between two blocks of time, you comment on your posts, or comment on your comments, or whatever it is you want to do. Absolutely fine. But I think it fits into the cracks in your day, as opposed to burns it up. And that's a really, I think, for social media, and I'm obsessed with social media, by the way, as you probably know, right? That's the only way I can make it work for me. is I fit it around the stuff that's really important. Because if you don't do that, you'll burn way too much time on it.
Well, having run a digital marketing company for 10 years or so, I would say that the hardest thing to get from a client is that personalization and that voice. And people know if you're outsourcing it. So yes, you've heard of like the 80-20 rule. So, 80% of the content is great, scheduled, do it at optimized times, use the native platforms. Scheduling stuff directly on various different platforms, using their own platforms rather than outsourcing it to Hootsuite and Buffer and places like that. But the 20%, you really do need to make sure that it's your voice that's commenting and reacting, and don't ignore people. So if people have gone out of their way to put a comment on, always make sure that you have the last say. You always make sure that you want to be the last person to have commented on that thread.
And of course, the algorithm, the LinkedIn algorithm particularly, if you don't comment on a comment, it doesn't like that at all.
It's rude as well, isn't it? I think
it is rude. Yeah, it is rude, really, to be honest. But even if you think, oh well, no, I don't mind being rude, but it makes practical sense, because LinkedIn will more likely to boost your post if you've commented on the comments within a very short period of time, really. So I think it's really important to do that. But that's a very good point. The other question I had for you, and I know Kirsty's looking a bit itsy, so she wants to move on, but the question I had for you as well, Julia, is it's the dichotomy. Okay, so I've not got much time. So do I outsource or use the AIs to develop content for me and get that out and schedule it and do all that sort of stuff? Or do I reduce the amount of content and the amount of interactions that I have, and it's all me? What's your stance on that? Because that's quite a big question, I think.
I would say B is the answer to that one. So yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. If you're time starved, then do less, but do better quality. So make sure that it is you that's being a bit more authentic.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I post twice a week, once for definite, and once if I feel like it. If something crops up and think, oh, I'll just write about that then, or put a video out, and that generates all the traffic that I need, really.
I also think with that, though, people recognize that your posts have substance. I mean, we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but people recognize that you've got substance to your post, so they will stop and read it. Whereas if people are posting every day, you cannot possibly have substance on 5 posts a day.
Yeah.
No.
You can't possibly and maintain the conversation that goes around it. So it swiftly falls off. And Maz here said he's seen so many posts where someone doesn't comment back. And it's when you think, oh, I've taken the time to comment on your post, and you can't even be bothered to just give me like a great comment, Kirsty, or great point, or it doesn't take much. You're not talking about rewriting, Shakespeare here. It's just a little bit of a post. So I 100%. I did have a question, Julia. What do you feel about when it comes to turning off notifications? What do you feel about like the do not disturb function on phones when you're?
I use the focus sections on my phone, saying that I don't have too many notifications anyway. But if I'm doing meditation in the morning, the last thing I want is a text or a WhatsApp or anything come through. So the iPhone has focused, it's like do not disturb, but different things for when you're using different apps. Mm-hmm. I won't go into it now, but yeah, check it out or Google it, go on YouTube and learn about using the focus apps, because they're really good.
I think what I'm getting actually we're only 2 in of the 5. What I'm getting here is you have to invest time and effort to save time and effort.
You do, but once it's there and you've got a process, ting, you're on fire,
Yeah, the term they use for that is leveraged. It means you do it once, but benefit from it many times over. And I think this is one of those cases. It's weird. We're doing time management. Most people out there suffer from a lack of time to get things done, and yet not everybody will turn up for this show or register for it. It's amazing because they haven't got time. Because
they haven't got time for it. That's quite ironic, but
it is indeed. So we've had a couple of questions. So I've had a question here from Maz. What does he think about sourcing VAs? So Mike, do you want to you know about VAs quite a lot?
No, Maz, Kirsty, if you make a note, we've got some VAs that we recommend to people. Depends what you want, really. A VA can cover a wide range of people, from people that do like your outsourcing of your social media and stuff, all the way through to some resourcing and even beyond. So there's loads of options. If you understand a little bit about what you want to put out, then I can point you in the right direction. So if you just send me an email, Maz, and just point out what you're thinking of getting outside the business, and I'll give you some names. You can call them or email them or something.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've got another comment, but I think it's very much relevant for later, which I want to bring up later. But let's move on to this next point, which is, Julia, sort of about efficiency, I think is probably the best way of saying it, is it?
Well, we've put here, practice efficient communication and eliminate this procrastination, which we've actually touched on quite a bit already. So I've written some questions down here for people to actually think about. So the first thing is, what do you do in your business that could be streamlined or made better? And I think there's lots of different tools out there nowadays that can help people do that. And the other thing is, one thing that really, I learned a lesson earlier on in my recruitment days is, obviously we make sales calls, don't we, as recruiters? But obviously calls come in for sales. And what do? We say, tell them I'm busy, or tell them I'm on the phone, or a candidate will ring in. You haven't got time to speak to them now, but they're just going to keep calling back. The more times they keep calling back, the more times you're taken off of focus. So just the same as emails, if you've touched it, get it done. Take that sales call, tell them you haven't got time, or tell them that you're not interested. Put the phone down. That's it, done, dusted. It will stop them calling back. Yeah. So I think just get stuff done rather than putting things off so that it comes back at a later stage.
I think there's a colleague of mine, my old business partner, Simon Chave, and Simon had this thing, and in the days of paper, he had paper on his desk. If you picked it up, every time he picked it up, put a little red dot on it. If it got 3 dots on it, he threw it out, whatever it was, because he said, well, if I haven't found it important enough to do, and 3 separate occasions I've looked at it, no chance. And it's kind of like that when you delay things, because what you're saying is, that's not important for me to do now, but it's on the scale somewhere, right? So I'll look at it again in the future. In reality, in the world that we live in, you're never really going to have time to do it. So the sooner that you recognize that it's not important enough to delegate or outsource, you think it's too important to delete it. Is it though? And I think you have to be a bit more brutal. Let me tell you this, right? Because as part of my trying to get efficient so I could work 3 days a week for Mrs. Ames, right? I did some analysis. You'll love this, Julia. I did some analysis. It was about a month and a half ago. I did it over 2 weeks, and I basically plotted my time, when I used my time. Quite an extensive exercise to do, but I needed to know, the analyst in me needed to know where the time was going.
Okay.
Basically, you've got three areas I'm interested in. On point, stuff I really need to do that's going to make the boat go faster, deliver the business that I want. It's on point stuff. I had some personal stuff as well, but that's moved now to the Friday and the Monday, so that's not too much of a bother. The middle one, it's work related, but it's not important. You know, so it's like the weirdest thing. You think, oh yeah, that's work, but then actually you look at it and does it pass the so what test? If I don't do it, so what, right? And it was 1.5 days a week that was just irrelevant.
What?
It was just irrelevant. Yeah. If I didn't do it, it would make no difference. And that's the problem, because I think we see stuff and think, oh well, I should do that because that's work. Or you just program that I should write a post on Tuesdays because I always write posts on Tuesdays. Yeah. But if you don't, what's going to happen? Nothing really.
How did you physically do that? Figure out what time you spent doing what?
Oh, well, I started using an app, but it was a nightmare. So I was just doing it in blocks of every hour. I just think, what have I just done in that time?
Okay.
Really. And the interesting thing as well, if you do it, right, because I was only really putting it in one of those 3 categories, right? So I didn't have to keep a big list of things I was doing. Which box did that? Which of the 3 boxes did that go in? But the interesting thing was this fragmentation piece we were talking about, the fact that, you know, when you are interrupted by something, you look at it, an email, say, and then you go back to the original thing that you were looking at, a little bit of your attention is retained on the thing that interrupted you. And if you do that enough, basically what happens is, and Tom Giles brought this up, bring that comment up of Tom's if you don't mind. This is a really good book actually called Deep Work, and I've been reading a lot about deep work recently. It's by a guy called Cal Newport. Yeah. Newport, there you go, Newport. Cal Newport. It's a really good book, and he basically says that half the time we don't get deep enough to be able to make real progress. Now, it's for creatives, I'll admit that, but also for business leaders, because I think if you really want to make your business great, you need some deep thought and some deep work to go with it. And there's one thing that the other type of stuff that we're talking about here is called shallow work, emails and stuff coming in, right? It's you just deal with it, and it's addictive. You like it, so you say, oh well, I'll go look at that. I'll go put a comment on a comment or whatever it is we talked about earlier. And what deep work says is you really have to do focus. And there's 4 different types. I can't remember what they are. You probably can: monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, and something else. And it's the rhythmic one that you want, is to basically set a certain amount of time each month at different times to do the really important stuff. And that's the thing that makes the difference. And if you look at people who have been massively successful, they're efficient. They don't do the stuff that they don't need to do. Right? Because either somebody else does it, or they're just judgmental to say, no, I'm not doing that. Not making a difference if I don't. And this so what test, I think, is a really important one. If I don't do this, what happens?
Yeah.
Nothing really.
There's a good app that you can use. Say apps called Rescue Me. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Not heard of that one, no.
So basically, it plugs into your computer and it analyzes what websites you're on, and it will give you a report at the end of the month, or the end of the week, or the end of the month.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
And then that tells you exactly how you spend your time. But you can also put it on your staff's computers. Obviously, that making sure just to have an idea of how they're spending their time as well. But it also looks at how much time you're spending on email and how much time you're spending on various different things. So that's called Rescue Me.
I'm going to give that a go then. Yeah, 100%.
That book was life changing for me. I do life planning every year. I don't know if you remember in the book, he actually went away to like a log cabin to write his book, and that's what I do every year. So I just disappear for a week up in the Lake Districts just to write my life plan, because that's all about focus time, turning everything off and just getting your life plan sorted.
Well, that's what Bill Gates
I'm going to have to interrupt because we do have to move on.
Okay. Just one last thing on this. Bill Gates did exactly the same. He had his Think Week. He went away on his own, took all his books, everything, and came back with like loads of ideas and stuff, which is good. Okay, sorry, Kirsty.
Right, so essentially with that one, Julia, it's about creating a process and eliminating those habits that are preventing you from being efficient, essentially, is what we're saying. Now, next, we are going to be looking at something that I think is a hot topic around somewhere, which is AI. But before then, Mike, we have a message from our sponsor.
Oh, who could that be then, Kirsty? That's us, isn't it? Right. Okay. So our sponsors are the Profit and Lifestyle Growth Summits that we run, and they're for company owners. And there are 2 types of company owners that we have. The first one, people finding sustained growth difficult. So they might be a yo-yo company, grow, shrink, or just not certain what to do next, really. Or those people who are massively frustrated and overwhelmed and disappointed. And both of them are looking for the same thing, which is clarity, confidence, and a way forward. They're looking for a compass and a map of the maze. And that's exactly what we do on these one-day growth summits. They're essentially made up of 5 different engines that you need to build a scalable business. Any business, to be honest with you, not just recruitment, but it works real well in recruitment. And you can see there they are. My favorite is zero cost marketing, which I'm sure Julia would have lots to say about if we got time. If you're thinking that sounds too good to be true, well, here, those are the prices. That's it. Now, we do have 1 space left for our London one, which is next Tuesday. If you'd like to come, because someone can't make it, they've been moved to the June the 26th London one. So we have space then. There are spaces on the Manchester and Birmingham ones because they're not yet. If you'd like to know more, you just email Summit to me, and quite frankly, I will then drop you an email with a link in, and it's down to you. So we don't hassle you or anything of that nature. So if you really are looking for that clarity and confidence, check out the Profit and Lifestyle Growth Summits.
What a great sponsor that we have there. Thank you very much. So, right, Julia, now this next one I want to talk about is something that a lot of people want to focus on, which is leveraging technology and automation. Because when people think of saving time, they think, oh, let's get tools to do it for me so that I don't have to. So what are your thoughts around this?
I am a big fan of technology. My company's called Adventure Geek, and the geek part of that is all to do with tech and the latest thing that's out. And obviously, we can't talk about this section without touching on the good old AI. And I'm sure, everyone thinks that it's the bee's knees, it's the best thing since sliced bread. And I think it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody's using it, and I think you're mad if you don't use it, especially when you're writing content. But, we're human beings. We need to humanize this content. If we don't, you can spot someone that's used AI a million miles away. Especially us Brits, you see content suddenly that's got Zs where they shouldn't be. And use missing out where they should be, and things like that. So please make sure, yes, use AI, but yes, please make sure that you're not automating everything, and that you are adding that human factor and humanizing.
Well, I've got a question on this, right? So I wrote a post. This was ages ago, and when LinkedIn first had that thing that said on the post, "Do you want AI to rewrite this for you?" Seen that thing? So I said,
Who
"Go on."
uses that? Does people use that?
Well, I thought I thought I'd give it a go, and it did, and it probably the English was better, but it just wasn't my voice. It wasn't me at all, really. And
people
in the end,
that they know you.
Yeah, they do, and I think part of social media, to use it properly, is to establish your person online. That's the point of it. So if you're outsourcing that, I really don't think that you're going to get the same result as if you did it yourself. Now, we do, and this isn't a punt because we only do it for existing private clients, right? So we don't do it for anyone else, and it's a small number because it's very time consuming. But what Pete does, he spends ages and ages and ages mimicking the style of the people that he's writing for. So he goes through the stuff that they've already written. So he understands their style and he replicates it. It takes ages to do, and you couldn't. Then I don't know whether there are any companies that do it, but we couldn't do it for that many because it's so time consuming. But mostly, if it's AI or if you outsource it, you just get a sort of grey result. I think. I don't think it's got much colour to it, has it?
I don't know if you're aware, but if you're using ChatGPT, right at the bottom it says personal, and you can personalize it to you. So like I've got things like, I don't use Americanisms, and I'm big into mental health, and you just tell ChatGPT all about the things that you love, the things that you do, and after a while it starts to learn about your voice as well. So if there's one big takeaway that I would do for this particular section of this podcast that we're doing today, is to personalize your ChatGPT as much as you can. You can do that on the free account. You don't have to be paying for it. So personalize it so it learns it, but still take the time to.
I think the big danger is that people won't, though. That's the problem I see. I think you and I both know that they should, and people listening to this podcast or watching this show are going to be thinking, I will do that. I'll get the people to do that. But when you're really up against it, something has been produced, and you think, oh, that looks all right. Chances are you'll whack it out there. And it comes back to the question that we had much earlier, is do you sacrifice quantity for quality? And I think if you are convinced that you can use chat or any of the other generators, and you are then going to customize it, I think that's absolutely fine. No problem with that at all. And
it's a good starting block. That's how I see it. As a starting block, full stop.
And it helps you to get into the habit of writing, because if you think, well, if I just get something out, then actually I could just improve that, or that's not really how I would say it. And occasionally
it gets rid of that blank page piece, doesn't it? That everybody has. I have had a couple of comments that I want to bring up. So Ben said something here, which I think is so relevant. Not everybody needs to be a thought leader when posting content on LinkedIn. However, lots of people try. And I think that's the point, is sometimes when they do that, they very much compromise on their quality.
And the question with that is, those people, when they make posts which are more personal about them and their world, do they get more attention? Yes, they do. Rather than trying to wheel out some dry stuff. And we all do it. Everyone does it, right? So, I'm certainly not innocent of it. But actually, it's the stuff about you they like the most, don't they? So it's a good point.
We're storytellers. We're human beings. We're storytellers. Stories sell at the end of the day. If you could tell a good story, then you get people hooked in, and that's it, done, dusted. So,
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I love that, Ben. Thank you for that.
No worries. So another comment here from Ben as well, which is relevant to the ChatGPT. He said you can upload your own writings into ChatGPT and it will use that to mirror your language and writing style, which is something very useful to know. But I have had a question here from Maz that I want to bring up. So, and I'm guessing this is a good one for you, Julia, with your history. Is it worth investing money in marketing to generate inquiries? If you think, is that somewhere to take the time away?
Yeah, I think everyone should be marketing, but there's marketing and marketing. I'm a big fan of old style marketing. I think people have forgotten how to go door knocking. Sending cars in the post. You can't beat knocking on the doors and just introducing yourself. I think if you're a local recruiter, that is, rather than obviously an international one or anything like that. But yeah, I think it comes back to this humanization. I don't know how many times, if we can get a robot to count how many times I've actually said that word during this whole half an hour. But yeah, I think you have to market, obviously.
I think there's two levels of marketing, right? The one that we do on the summit is zero cost marketing, because for most recruiters, not spending money on marketing, just doing the basic 20% that gets you 80% of the results is absolutely fine. If you can then spend some dough, you're going to get more from it. If you can spend some dough to get things made look prettier, or you can get something to design something for you or whatever, that's absolutely fine. But you know what? The vast majority of marketing that small recruiters need is free, and it's very powerful. You know, just check out the ADA. We've got one of the shows here we did on ADA, which is free, of course. And ADA campaigns are so powerful, Matt. You know, 100%. Don't cost anything to run.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, I've never heard of that. ADA. Okay.
AIDA.
Attention, interest, design.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So let's move on to our final point, Julia, because we are doing well on time, but I want to make sure we cover everything, which is this ABC of time management: working smarter, not harder. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yes. So again, it comes down to books again, and it's a theory based on Franklin Covey. I don't know if you remember back in the day, they used to do like
Covey,
they used to do like Filofax type things, where then you can buy the inserts and stuff like that. But the theory of it is really good. It comes back to these things: pen and paper. There's something to do with neurology between your brain and actually physically writing things down, rather than actually doing things on a desktop and to-do lists and stuff like that. And there's great satisfaction about ticking things off of lists. I know people that have done their to-do list and then they write things on the bottom after they've done it, just so that they can tick it off, because again, it's a bit of a dopamine hit for doing that. So the ABC method in short term is basically writing a brain dump. Literally get everything out of your head, get it on paper in a list form, and then you go through that list and you mark whether it's an A, as in urgent, it really needs to be done today; B, it's semi-urgent but doesn't necessarily need to be done today; or C, which is more of a project thing and doesn't necessarily need to be done. And then you go back down your list, all of your A's, you list 1, 2, or 3, and do it in order of priority. Now, the golden key is to not do the low-hanging fruit. Don't do the easy stuff. You need to do it. You need to do it in the order that you've written it. So A1, done. A2, done. A3, done. B1, done. You can't do B4 because that's more sexy and more interesting, and you can just get it done. You have to do B1, B2, B3 first.
That sounds harder.
Yes, but you'll be amazed how much you get through.
I bet.
There's something good about
there is something about that. The Stephen Covey also had that matrix, didn't he? Urgent and important. Not urgent, not important. Like those 4 boxes, and we spend too much time in the not urgent, not important because it's easy. And again, in the book that Tom mentioned, Deep Work, which is well worth buying by Cal Newton.
Newport.
I keep thinking of
right.
mental block there, right? Whatever. But it's the same there. He talks a lot about in that book as well. But I just wanted to throw in a thing here called coloured time as well, because with coloured time, it's something that I use and have used on and off for years, really, but I'm stepping up the game now. I used to just have 3 colours, so 3 types of activity. One was generating money, in other words, consultancy work, when I get paid to do something. One was sales, and then one was marketing, right? So I've got 3 different ones. I've added other things now. And basically what it means is that over a month, you decide how much you're going to spend on each of those different topics. Less is more, right? So I've got 6 now, and that's the absolute maximum. And you put that coloured time in your diary, suitably coloured. What's in between it, you can do what you like. So you can answer your emails, or you can look at social media, or go and play golf. Yeah, I can't be doing this afternoon. You mean
weather permitting?
Weather permitting. No. I've got a coat. I'll be fine. But coloured time is great, because what it does over time, you begin to realise if you haven't got enough of one sort of colour or not, you can vary it, and you can move the blocks around if you need to. It's fine, but you get a balanced time diet, and that is so important. And I'll tell you the most important coloured time is purple time, because purple time is when you work on your business, not in it. And the secret to coloured time is always to know what you're going to do in that time. So red time is sales time for me, right? So I have a complete list of people I'm supposed to be calling or emailing, because that's what my CRM system chucks out. So I know when it's red time, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I just start at the top and work down. Having now listened to Julia, I should be reordering that list and starting at the importance of moving down. But nonetheless, I get it all processed, so I don't suppose it really matters. But coloured time, when it's done properly, is brilliant. And it really just puts you in control of your business and gives you that balanced diet. And if you own a business, you need a balanced diet of time. It's so important, because the more you work on your business today, the less you work in your business tomorrow. And coloured time will do that for you. So it goes along the lines of what you just said with the ABC perfectly.
Brilliant.
Amazing. Guys,
Written that down.
unfortunately, we've come towards the end of our time. I mean, we've had some really interesting tips. And in a second, I'm going to come to Julia and Mike, because he can't help himself, for a top tip. So if you've been looking today and thinking, I really want to get on top of my time management, Julia's going to give you a place to start. But before then, Mike, can we talk about our next show in 2 weeks, which I believe is something that people are going to underestimate the importance of, I feel.
Oh, dear God, yes. If one of the Greek gods came down and said, I'm taking everything away from you except you can keep one thing, other than my Pekingese dog, and I suppose my wife. No, one thing, it would be my network. Because with my network, I can do it all over again. And yet networking has become some sort of inane, soft, wishy-washy, going to events and networking. No. Real networks build empires, and I'm going to tell you exactly what a real network is and exactly how you build one. And I am super excited about that. I got to tell you, because oh man, I've got some great stories to share with you, some great tips and tools. It's going to be great. So please check that out next 2 weeks from now.
And I think in a flatter market, or in the market that we're kind of in now, it has never been more important. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Okay, so Julia, people are watching this and they're thinking, okay, I've watched your tips, but we've obviously given quite a lot of information, quite a lot of tips and things like that. What's the first thing they should do? The thing that you think is the one to start with?
So using your new coloured diary, diarise some time and get control of that inbox.
Purple time. That's purple time.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. And mine is allied to that, which is coloured time, really. It's worked so well, and I'm kicking myself really, because I could have saved myself a day and a half, like years ago probably, right? But it's using coloured time. I'm going to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of my day, still leaving plenty of time to do a bit of social media, email and golf. So coloured time is it.
Important stuff.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, we have come to the end of our show now. So if there are any questions or comments, we've had some really nice people. So Maz has said, thank you very much. As has Judith, excellent tips. And Ben, great tips and points of view. So thank you very much, everybody. So to end the show, first of all, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's been watching today and everybody who's commented. It always makes these shows so fun for us when we get interaction from the audience. So thank you so much for doing that. I want to give a fantastic thank you to Julia, who's offered so much value today and so much, good, helpful stuff for me, who's clearly, with all of my notifications on my phone and my 2,000 emails in my inbox, I've got work to do now. So Julia, thank you so much for being here today.
And presumably, if anybody's interested in the team building and the things that you do in this country and abroad, just connect with you on LinkedIn, I presume.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a bit of a LinkedIn tart, so yeah, feel free to send me a notification.
Yeah, can I be a LinkedIn tart as well?
I think you are, Mike.
I am. Yes. Can't mean from that. Okay, well, look, thanks very much for running the show as always, Kirsty, and thank you again, Julie. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.